You're broke. I think I got another dollar. Hey, Chaz, you gonna let him do that to me?
I'll do better than that.
Dean Martin's dark secret behind Rio Bravo, the truth most fans never recognized. December 25th, 1995, Beverly Hills, California. It is Christmas morning, but inside Dean Martin's home, there is nothing to celebrate. At 78 years old, Dean is dying. Emphysema has devastated his lungs. Kidney failure is slowly poisoning his body. One system after another is beginning to shut down, and everyone gathered around him understands that there may not be much time left. His daughter, Deanna, sits beside the bed, holding his weakened hand. An oxygen machine hums steadily nearby.
Guess I'll take that drink now, Charlie.
I thought you would.
A morphine drip keeps some of the pain under control, but every breath still seems to require all the strength Dean has left. For several minutes, his eyes remain closed. Then they slowly open. He turns toward his daughter. "Baby," he whispers, "put it on." Deanna leans closer, unsure whether she heard him correctly. "Put what on, Dad?" "The movie," Dean says. "Rio Bravo. I need to see it one more time." She hesitates. Her father is slipping away before her eyes. Does he truly want to spend what may be his final hours watching an old Western he made more than 3 decades earlier? But Dean's fingers tighten around her hand. "Please." Deena finds the VHS tape and places it into the machine. The television flickers, the image rolls for a moment, and suddenly the room is filled with the colors and voices of 1959. John Wayne appears in his prime. Angie Dickinson enters the story. Ricky Nelson stands young and confident. And then there is Dean Martin, 36 years younger, playing Dude, a drunken former deputy struggling to regain his dignity, his courage, and his badge.
I guess this is his. Nice, fresh $50 gold piece. It's just about what Burdette would figure a man's life is worth.
Dean watches silently. His eyes remain locked on the screen as though he is waiting for one specific moment. Then it arrives, the cigarette scene. Dude sits at a table and tries to roll a cigarette. His hands tremble uncontrollably. Tobacco spills across the surface. The paper tears between his fingers. He tries again, but his shaking hands betray him. It is a painfully simple task, yet he cannot complete it. The scene shows a man so humiliated, so consumed by addiction and self-hatred, that even rolling a cigarette has become nearly impossible. As Dean watches his younger self struggle on the screen, tears begin forming in his eyes. "That's when I died, baby," he whispers. Deena looks at him confused. "What? That scene? That moment?" Dean answers. "March 28th, 1959. That's when Dino Crocetti died. Not today. 36 years ago." Deanna squeezes his hand. "Dad, Rio Bravo saved your career. Everyone knows that." The tears now move freely down Dean's face. There is no audience to charm, no camera to impress, and no familiar joke to protect him. For once, there is no performance left.
Oh, he sure does.
Well, whether I am or not, I'll tell you that anything with Cecil B. DeMille's name on it is something to put on the front part of your mantle.
"Rio Bravo killed me," he says. Deanna stares at him. Dean struggles for another breath. And nobody understood. Not you, not Frank, not even me. For the longest time, nobody figured out what really happened during that scene. Each sentence costs him more energy than the last. "I thought I was acting, baby. I thought I was pretending to be desperate, but I wasn't acting. I was desperate." He pauses, gathering enough strength to continue, and then I spent the next 36 years running from that truth. I ran so hard and for so long that eventually I forgot who I was running from. Deanna still does not understand. "What are you saying, Dad?" Dean turns his attention back toward the television. On the screen, Dude is fighting to become a man again. Yet in the bedroom, Dean seems to be watching something far more personal than a movie.
James
I
Bond?
don't know. We got the same thing. Of course, his Eastern, mine's Western.
It sure is.
Oh,
like you're on a
his
train.
Eastern, see?
It's pretty fancy.
The king of cool, he whispers. The martinis, the swagger, the tuxedos, the Rat Pack, all of it. His breathing grows heavier. It was a mask, a costume, a performance. Dean had spent decades convincing the world that nothing could touch him. He appeared relaxed when others were nervous, amused when others were angry, and emotionally distant when life became painful. But according to him, that image had not revealed who he truly was. It had hidden him. After that scene, Dean continues, after Rio Bravo, I became too frightened to ever be real again. His eyes slowly close. I've been wearing that mask for 36 years, and I'm going to die wearing it because I don't know how to take it off anymore.
Oh, I drink, but I'm not a boozer, not an alcoholic or anything like that.
But what could have happened during the filming of Rio Bravo in March 1959 that made Dean Martin describe it as the moment he died? Why would the performance that rescued his career also destroy something inside the man beneath it? And why did Dean spend the rest of his life running from the very scene that transformed him into a respected dramatic actor? This is the story Hollywood never told. The dark secret hidden inside Dean Martin's greatest performance. And the truth is not what most fans think. Act 1. The Fall, Los Angeles, 1958. Dean Martin is 41 years old, and according to nearly everyone in Hollywood, his career is already over. Not struggling and not fading, and over, finished, dead. Only 2 years earlier, Dean had done what many people considered unthinkable. He walked away from Jerry Lewis and ended the most successful comedy partnership in America. For 10 years, Martin and Lewis had dominated nightclubs, theaters, radio, television, and Hollywood. Their live appearances caused chaos. Their films generated millions of dollars. Together, they completed 16 movies and became one of the most profitable entertainment teams of their generation. But Dean had reached his limit. He told Jerry he was finished, ended the partnership, and walked away from everything they had built together. He believed he was finally choosing freedom. Newspapers called it the biggest mistake in show business history. Dean Martin without Jerry Lewis? Critics mocked him mercilessly, a ventriloquist without the dummy.
I'm not lazy. They want to think I'm lazy, but they know I work.
Except, they joked, Dean had been the dummy all along. Everyone predicted the same ending. Jerry Lewis would become an even bigger star. Dean Martin would simply disappear. At first, they seemed right. Dean's first solo film, 10,000 Bedrooms, collapsed at the box office. Many theaters pulled it after only a week. Nightclub bookings disappeared. Record deals became smaller. Soon, even the phone stopped ringing. Meanwhile, the bills kept coming. Dean still paid alimony to his first wife, Betty. He supported their 4 children while trying to maintain the Beverly Hills lifestyle everyone expected from a Hollywood star. His savings were vanishing. Hollywood watched it happen without sympathy. In that town, success was everything. Once you started falling, few people reached out to catch you. By the spring of 1958, Dean heard about a new Western, Rio Bravo. Howard Hawks would direct. John Wayne would star. There was one important supporting role, Dude, a deputy destroyed by alcoholism who desperately wanted his badge back. Dean knew immediately he needed that part. It wasn't just another movie. It was his last chance. The problem was getting the audition. For the first time in years, Dean couldn't rely on his reputation. His agent had to make the calls, asking Hawks to give Dean a chance. Even more humiliating, Dean agreed to work for only $5,000. Just 2 years earlier, he had earned around $150,000 per film. Now he was practically begging to be hired. Howard Hawks finally agreed to meet him, not because he believed Dean was still a star, because the character was a broken man. Maybe, Hawks thought, a broken actor could play one convincingly.
I wouldn't change one thing. Not one thing.
When Dean walked into the office, he looked exhausted. His suit was wrinkled. His beard hadn't been shaved. Dark circles surrounded his eyes after another sleepless night, worrying about money. Hawks studied him for a moment, then he smiled. Perfect. Dean looked confused. You look exactly like Dude, Hawks said. Broken, defeated. I need that. Dean wasn't sure whether he had just received a compliment or an insult. Can you play a drunk? Hawks asked. Dean thought about the bourbon he'd used to calm his nerves. I can play whatever you need. Hawks handed him the script. The role is yours if you want it. Before Dean left, Hawks gave him one warning. This isn't a funny drunk. Dude has lost everything. He's weak, ashamed, and desperate. Dean quietly nodded. I'm good with that. Sitting alone in his car afterward, he opened the script and read the first description of Dude, a man hollowed out by failure. Dean caught his own reflection in the rearview mirror. For a long moment, he simply stared. Then one thought crossed his mind. I don't have to act. I am Dude. He believed that realization would save his career. He had no idea it would change his life forever. Act 2, The Lion's Den. March 1959, Old Tucson, Arizona. The Rio Bravo set welcomed its cast with blazing heat, choking dust, rattlesnakes hiding among the rocks, and scorpions crawling near the trailers. Dean steps onto the Rio Bravo set under the blazing Arizona sun, sweat already soaking through his jacket. Then he sees him. John Wayne, tall, confident, dressed like he belonged in the Old West. Wayne didn't just walk onto a movie set. He owned it. Everyone seemed to orbit around him. Wayne glanced at Dean and gave a brief nod. Nothing more. Dean returned the nod, hiding his nerves behind his familiar cool expression. Inside, however, he felt the pressure. Wayne had little faith in Dean. To him, Dean Martin was a nightclub singer from the Rat Pack, not a serious actor. Wayne admired rugged men who earned respect the hard way, not entertainers known for tuxedos and martinis. At lunch on the first day, Wayne walked over. Hope you can ride a horse. I can. Hope you can handle a gun. I can handle that too. Wayne smiled. Good. Out here, we make real movies. The message was clear. He expected Dean to fail. Filming quickly became lonely. Ricky Nelson, the young rising star, attracted fans and crew everywhere he went. Wayne held court between takes, telling stories while everyone listened. Dean usually sat alone, smoking and studying his lines. One afternoon, he tried joining Wayne's circle. Wayne noticed him but never made room. After a few awkward moments, Dean quietly walked away. It felt like high school all over again. Only this time, rejection could destroy a career. Then came rehearsal. The scene was simple. Dude walks into the jail, pours coffee, and talks with Sheriff Chance. Easy. Hawks called action. Suddenly, Wayne improvised. Coffee's cold. Dean hesitated. It wasn't in the script. I'll make fresh, Dean replied. Hawks immediately stopped the scene. Duke's right, he said. Again. Take after take fell apart. Hawks wanted real desperation. Dean kept performing it instead of feeling it. After several failed attempts, Hawks pulled him aside. What's wrong? Nothing, Dean answered. Hawks shook his head. No, Dean. You're performing. Hawks looked Dean in the eye. You're trying to act desperate. I know. No. You're showing me desperation instead of living it. Dean wanted to laugh. Did Hawks have any idea what his life looked like? He was making this movie for just $5,000. He owed thousands in bills. His career was hanging by a thread. At 41, Hollywood had already decided he was finished. Did he know desperation? More than anyone, but all Dean said was, "I'll figure it out." Hawks wasn't convinced. "We shoot the cigarette scene in 4 days. If that scene doesn't work, the whole movie doesn't work." That night, Dean sat alone in his hotel room with the script open beside a glass of bourbon. He reread the scene. Dude tries to roll a cigarette. His hands shake uncontrollably. Tobacco spills, the paper tears. He keeps trying and keeps failing. Dean stared at his own hands. They were steady. For 20 years, those hands had helped create the image of a man who never struggled. Now they had to fail, and Dean didn't know how. Act 3, the cigarette scene. March 28th, 1959, 4 days later. The entire production had been building toward this moment. Hawks wanted no rehearsed gestures, no tricks. "Just try to roll the cigarette," he told Dean. "If it's difficult, let it be difficult." Late that afternoon, the crew rushed to capture the scene before the golden light disappeared. They had only a couple of takes. If Dean failed, everyone would return the next day, and every doubt about his ability would grow even louder. The set was ready. A wooden table, rolling papers, a pouch of tobacco. Dean sat alone. "You ready?" Hawks asked. "I'm ready." Hawks studied him for a moment. He saw fear. "Good." "Don't perform," Hawks reminded him. "Just be." Dean nodded. As Hawks walked back to the camera, a frightening realization hit him. He didn't know if he could do it, not because he couldn't act, but because for the first time in his career, he was being asked not to hide behind the performance. The cameras rolled. Action. Dean looked down at the tobacco and reached for the papers. Dean reached for the rolling paper. According to the script, his hands were supposed to shake just enough to look convincing. A little spilled tobacco, a few failed attempts, carefully rehearsed failure. But that isn't what happened. The moment Dean picked up the paper, his hands began trembling for real. Not because he was acting, because he was terrified. John Wayne was watching. Howard Hawks was watching. The entire crew was watching. If he failed this scene, he feared he would lose the movie and perhaps his last chance at a career. He tried to steady the paper. He couldn't. The tobacco slipped through his fingers and scattered across the table. He grabbed another paper. It tore. His breathing became faster. He wasn't pretending to panic anymore. He was panicking. Then it hit him. This wasn't Dude falling apart, and it was Dean. For the first time, he realized he wasn't portraying a broken man. He truly felt like one. The cameras kept rolling. No one called cut. Dean tried again. More tobacco spilled. Another paper ripped. The man known as the King of Cool suddenly had no mask left to hide behind. Years of fear, failure, and regret poured into a single moment, leaving Jerry Lewis watching his career collapse, wondering if Hollywood had been right about him all along. It was all there. John Wayne noticed it immediately. The script called for Wayne to keep walking through the scene. Instead, he stopped. He watched Dean silently. Every trace of skepticism disappeared. Wayne wasn't watching an actor perform anymore. He was watching a man expose something painfully real. He never interrupted. He knew the moment couldn't be recreated. Finally, Hawks spoke. Cut. The set fell completely silent. Dean remained seated, staring at the torn papers and scattered tobacco. Hawks walked over and rested a hand on his shoulder. "That's it," he said softly. "That's the take." Dean looked up, confused. "I couldn't even roll the cigarette." Hawks smiled. "Exactly. You weren't supposed to." Act 4, The Mask. Hawks smiled. You didn't perform failure. You lived it. Dean could barely process what he'd heard. He had succeeded by falling apart. After filming wrapped for the day, the crew packed up in silence. Dean remained at the table, staring at the scattered tobacco and torn papers. Something inside him had changed. A few moments later, John Wayne walked over and sat across from him. For a long time, neither man spoke. Finally, Wayne broke the silence. "You're not a singer pretending to be an actor." Dean braced for another insult. Instead, Wayne continued, "You're an actor who happens to sing." What you did today, most actors spend a lifetime chasing that kind of honesty. Wayne stood, offered his hand, and Dean shook it. "Welcome to the movie." For the first time, Dean had earned John Wayne's respect. He should have felt victorious. Instead, he felt exposed. That night, alone in his hotel room, Dean stared into a glass of bourbon. He had saved his career. But he had also revealed a part of himself he had spent decades trying to hide. The confident Dean Martin everyone admired suddenly felt like a mask, and he feared people had now seen the man underneath. Months later, Rio Bravo premiered. It became both a critical and commercial success. Reviewers praised Dean more than ever before. They called his performance honest, vulnerable, and deeply moving. Many even described it as the finest acting of his career. Dean read those reviews at home. Everyone expected him to celebrate. Instead, he felt uneasy. People weren't praising the cool entertainer anymore. They were praising the broken man. Soon, new scripts flooded in. Almost every role was the same: a recovering alcoholic, a damaged war veteran, an aging boxer who had lost everything. Hollywood no longer wanted the carefree Dean Martin. They wanted wounded, vulnerable characters. His agent couldn't have been happier. "This is your future," he said. "You're finally being taken seriously." But Dean wasn't sure he wanted that future at all. He didn't want to spend the rest of his career reliving the pain he had accidentally revealed in Rio Bravo. Dean wanted to tell his agent the truth. "I don't want to keep showing the world my weakness." But he never said it. He needed the money. He needed the work. Most of all, he needed to prove Rio Bravo wasn't a one-time success. Still, every new script felt the same. Another broken man, another painful confession, another role that demanded he tear down the walls protecting him. Each time Dean remembered the cigarette scene, he remembered how real it had felt. And he realized he never wanted to experience that again. So, in the summer of 1959, he made a decision. He would never be dude again. Instead, he would become the complete opposite: cool, confident, untouchable. He would build a mask so convincing that no one would ever see the frightened man beneath it. Then, in 1960, Frank Sinatra called. "I'm putting together something," Frank said. "Me, Sammy, Peter Lawford, Joey Bishop, and I want you." Dean accepted immediately. The Rat Pack became his escape. Tuxedos, martinis, jokes, swagger, everything dude had never been. Soon America embraced the image. Then came the Dean Martin Show in 1965. Dean perfected the role of the carefree, slightly tipsy entertainer. He always seemed relaxed, always smiling, always in control. Audiences loved it. Dean believed the mask had finally worked, but he didn't realize something. He wasn't just playing a character anymore, he was becoming one. The drinking, the effortless charm, the constant jokes, they slowly became a shield, protecting him from ever feeling as exposed as he had on the Rio Bravo set. Even Frank Sinatra never saw behind that shield. Frank trusted Dean with his deepest fears, his disappointments, and his heartbreaks. Dean listened, offered advice, and always appeared calm. But he almost never revealed his own struggles. Because opening up meant risking another moment like the cigarette scene. It meant becoming vulnerable again. So the King of Cool lived on, not because Dean wanted to fool the world, Act 5, The Cost. Dean's children grew up knowing only one version of their father, the King of Cool. He was always performing, golfing, filming, or headlining in Las Vegas. His son, Dean Paul, known as Dino, tried harder than anyone to earn his father's attention. He followed him into music and acting, hoping they would finally connect. But Dean rarely let anyone see behind the mask, not even his own family. He believed it was better to be the distant, confident father than the broken man hiding underneath. Years passed. The performance never stopped. By 1975, Dean was 58 years old. One night, he sat alone in his house with a drink in his hand, staring into a mirror. A question entered his mind. Who am I? Was he Dean Martin, the carefree entertainer? Was he Dude, the broken man from Rio Bravo? Or was he still Dino Crocetti, the young man from Steubenville who had disappeared beneath decades of performance? For the first time, Dean realized he no longer knew the answer. The mask had become his identity. Then tragedy struck. March 21st, 1987. Dean Paul Martin was killed when his Air National Guard F-4 Phantom crashed during a training flight. He was only 35. Dean received the news backstage while touring with Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. Just minutes before showtime, his manager quietly told him there had been an accident. Dean asked only one question. Is he alive? No one answered. Despite the devastating news, Dean walked onto the stage. He sang, he joked, he smiled. The audience saw the familiar King of Cool. They had no idea he had just learned his son might be gone forever. After the show, the confirmation came. There were no survivors. Dean returned home and withdrew from public life. Friends noticed he was never the same again. A few days after Dino's funeral, unable to sleep, Dean wandered into his screening room before dawn. He looked through his old films. Then he stopped. Rio Bravo. He hadn't watched it in years. Act 5, The Truth Returns. Dean watched Rio Bravo in silence. There was John Wayne, Ricky Nelson, Angie Dickinson, and then there was himself, 28 years younger, playing Dude. When the cigarette scene arrived, Dean leaned forward. This time, he wasn't watching as an actor. He was watching as a grieving father, just days after burying his son. Dude reached for the tobacco. His hands trembled. The paper tore. He failed again. And suddenly, Dean saw something he had never admitted before. He hadn't escaped Dude. He had become him, the drinking, the emotional distance, the inability to let anyone get close. It had all followed him for nearly 3 decades. The only difference was that he had hidden it behind expensive suits, jokes, and an effortless smile. The King of Cool hadn't replaced Dude. He had simply covered him. Dean thought about his son. Had Dino ever really known his father? Or had he only known the character everyone else loved? The realization was crushing. He switched off the television and sat alone in the darkness. His first instinct was to reach for another drink. That frightened him most of all. The final years. After 1987, Dean slowly disappeared from public life. He turned down performances and spent more time alone at home. Frank Sinatra called often and tried to convince him to return to the stage. "Come back," Frank said. "We'll do one more show together." Dean quietly shook his head. "I don't know who they want anymore." Frank didn't argue. He could see his old friend slipping away. When Sammy Davis Jr. died in 1990, Dean attended the funeral and openly wept. Many people were moved by the rare display of emotion. But afterward, Dean reportedly questioned even that. Was he truly grieving? Or had he become so used to performing that he no longer knew the difference? By 1994, Frank visited Dean again. The change was impossible to ignore. Dean had lost weight. Years of smoking had damaged his health. He looked exhausted. Frank studied him carefully. "Be yourself," he said quietly. Dean didn't answer. Frank leaned closer. "Talk to me. We're brothers." Act 6, The Final Truth. Frank looked at Dean. "You can tell me anything." Dean wanted to. He wanted to explain everything: the mask, Rio Bravo, the cigarette scene, and how he had spent decades pretending to be someone he no longer recognized. But he couldn't. After 35 years, he no longer knew how to take the mask off. So he simply smiled and said, "I'm tired, Frank." So tired. Frank quietly left. Both men seemed to understand it would be their last goodbye. Later that night, Dean turned on the television. Rio Bravo was playing once again. When the cigarette scene appeared, he whispered to himself, "I'm still trying to roll that cigarette." Christmas morning, 1995. We return to where this story began.
Dean lies in bed with Rio Bravo playing nearby.
His daughter Deanna holds his hand. "That's when I died, baby," he whispers. March 28, 1959. I thought I was acting. I thought I was pretending to be desperate. But I wasn't. I was desperate. He pauses, struggling for another breath. After that, I built the King of Cool. I built him so well that I forgot there was anyone underneath. Tears rolled down his face. There is no performance anymore. Only an old man telling the truth. I spent 36 years running from that scene. I thought I was escaping Dude, but I was only hiding him. His voice grows weaker. And my son never really knew me. I was too afraid to let him. Dina squeezes his hand. "Dad, promise me something. Anything. When people remember me, tell them the truth." Rio Bravo was my greatest performance. Because it was the only time, I stopped performing. He looks toward the television one last time. "Tell them the King of Cool was the loneliest man in Hollywood." Because the mask became my prison. His breathing slows. On the television, Dude finally gives up trying to roll the cigarette. Moments later, Dean Martin takes his final breath. The dark secret. A few days later, Deanna sorts through her father's belongings. Inside a notebook dated 1993, she finds a single handwritten thought. "Howard Hawks asked if I knew what desperation felt like. I said yes. I was wrong. I learned that day on the set. Real desperation isn't something you perform. It's something you survive." Dean Martin believed the greatest role of his life wasn't the one that made him famous. It was the one that forced him to face himself. According to this story, the real secret behind Rio Bravo wasn't John Wayne, Hollywood politics, or even alcoholism. It was that for one unforgettable scene, Dean stopped performing. He allowed the cameras to capture something painfully real. And after the world embraced that vulnerability, he spent the rest of his life trying to hide it behind the image of the King of Cool. Whether every detail happened exactly this way is impossible to know. But one thing is certain. That cigarette scene remains one of the most powerful moments of Dean Martin's career, and it continues to leave audiences talking decades later. What do you think? Was Rio Bravo truly the performance that changed Dean Martin forever, or do you see his life differently? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey into Hollywood's untold history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.